Welcome back. With the recent dip or flash crash in crypto, their question remains, where are we in the cycle? Well, if we zoom out and really look at the overall markets and overall cycle outside of just Bitcoin and just crypto, what we are seeing here, as Sven Hendrik is highlighting in this chart, we'll see how this plays out, but there's a rhyme in the air. And what we can see is this, I think it's called a divergent channel, just got broken after a multi-month jump since the April lows in the cycle. And so we have been getting warning after warning, not only from me and this channel, but also from the likes of Goldman Sachs CEO saying there will be a drawdown in the stock market in the next 12 to 24 months. We're going to watch this video. We also just recently heard from Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, the largest bank in the world. And he basically said, are we going to have a recession? Well, whether we're going to have one or not, that's a whole different story than whether I'm worried about it, because we know the banks are not worried. They're going to make money either way. And this is really what this video is going to be about. Where are we in the cycle? Do people really understand where we are in the cycle? And, where can we still make money if the crypto cycle is over? And we're also going to be talking about the Bitcoin mining companies that pivoted to AI. We're also going to be talking about all of these digital asset treasury companies like Strive, Semler Scientific, and Kindly Nakamoto, which continues to draw down. It's now down over 97% since they made the announcement that they were pivoting to a Bitcoin treasury company. And while people are still super bullish on MicroStrategy, we now have Michael Saylor blocking some of his most vocal supporters in the crypto space. This is the Cryptoviser podcast. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. We upload every single day of the year to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. And also don't forget to give the video a free thumbs up, because thumbs up are free. Crypto is not. Let's get right into today's video. Now, we're going to be starting right here with the Goldman Sachs CEO saying that the market drawdown in the next 12 to 18 months will occur. Let's listen to what he says.
I'm not going to bed every night worried about what will happen next, but markets run in cycles. And whenever we've historically had a significant acceleration in a new technology that creates a lot of capital formation and therefore lots of interesting new companies around it, you generally see the market run ahead of the potential, because they're going to be winners and losers. They're going to be winners and losers. If you go back and you think about the internet, pick on Amazon. Amazon was one of many companies that was prosecuting that kind of opportunity. Many of the companies went away. Amazon became an incredible company. You're going to see a similar phenomenon here. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 12 to 24 months we see a drawdown with respect to, equity markets, but that shouldn't be surprising given the run we've had.
Imagine being in an interview and the stage is turning while you're trying to pay attention to what you're saying and talking about. Very odd interview style. But either way, here's the deal, guys. The markets run in cycles. And while we're hearing from the likes of Raoul Pal saying that there's the 4-year cycle is turning into a 5-year cycle based on no data besides thousands and thousands of charts that that his company looks at, and then taking one and saying, oh, well, this shows you that we're going to have a 5-year cycle. This is just not what occurs in the market. I've been saying this all cycle long. We've showed you the Bitcoin halving tracker. You can see the psychological market charts. But again, people don't even know what they're actually investing in, and they don't fully understand the markets in front of them. This user said, I've seen a lot of people talking about how their stops, right? Their stop losses didn't trigger when the major flash crash occurred in October of 2025, and that's why they lost money. He said, you need a buyer for your limits, your stop limits or stop losses to execute at the price you set. If you use a market order, you get the price, there's liquidity for. And this is completely true, right? Again, people don't even know what they're investing in. They don't understand the leverage that they're using, how the markets work, right? A stop loss only works if somebody's buying on the other end, right? But in a flash crash, as we saw, the order books of many of these cryptos, especially the meme coins and the coins, they're very thinly traded. And so once you go 5 to 10% outside of the trading range that you're currently at, sometimes there's no orders on the books. And so if you're going lower than that, right, and you're having cascading liquidations, well, if If everybody puts their stop loss for a certain amount and there's no orders in the book for that, well, and there's no buyer because people just didn't put buy orders in, well, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to get liquidated. And so this user continued saying so many accounts on here talk about risk management and technicals and flow, but they don't actually have understanding of how the markets work. It's not magic money machine. You need a buyer on the other side of your trade. If there's no buyer, you have to lower your price. And here's the deal, guys. I get a lot of comments on this channel from like new viewers or viewers who have been subscribed for years and never commented, right? Here's the deal. I studied these markets every single day since I started this channel. Every single day. Weekends, holidays, nights, mornings, every single part of the day. I'm studying the markets. And that doesn't mean I'm going to be correct. But one of the things that it did teach me is that there are flows to the market. And when there's over exuberance and people who are, just literally in euphoria, like I'm a genius, this is, Cryptoviser, you don't know what you're talking about. And they literally just started investing in the markets, right? They were not around in the previous cycle or the cycle before that. And they're coming on and saying, oh, well, Cryptoviser, you don't know what you're talking about. We have an extended cycle or whatever they're saying to justify where their position is. I'm like, okay. I mean, there's a lot of people who said, well, Cryptoviser, I don't feel like we're in euphoria. Well, it doesn't matter what you feel. It's what the market is doing, right? And by the way, I believe that the euphoria part of the market was in the middle of the year when these Bitcoin treasury companies were all popping up, when a lot of altcoins were hitting their yearly highs since last year in 2024's high. But people are like, no, Cryptoviser, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, okay, I'm not here to convince you of anything. I'm literally just giving you guys my opinion and my analysis. That's all we do on this channel. Continuing on, he said this basic misunderstanding is one of the things that creates the conditions for a violent sell-off. You have uneducated participants who panic when something happens they're not familiar with. You have the smart guys who panic first. Selling explodes and buying evaporates. And as I've been saying, like people who are super bullish, why are you not double mortgaging your house and selling your car and selling all your possessions and buying more crypto? If you are the most bullish you've ever been, you should be doing that, but you're not doing that, right? And so are you really that bullish on the market? I mean, when FTX collapsed and everybody in crypto was freaking out, what were we doing on this channel? We were buying the market. I told my viewers, this is going to be the bottom of the market. 2 weeks before FTX collapsed, I told my viewers, potentially sell into losses, shore up liquidity, shore up those dollars, because if the market does go through a corrective phase, you're going to want to buy. Well, less than 1 month later, we were doing that. And the rest of the market were freaking out. Oh my God, is Grayscale next? Is Binance going to go down? What is going to happen next? We were not even worried, right? We were buying the bottom of the market. And so again, you even heard from Goldman Sachs, right? CEO, there's going to be winners, there's going to be losers. We want to be winners. And part of being winners is you have to sometimes just ignore the losers because they are going to lose. I mean, it's as easy as that. In this interview with the Thread guy, Trader Main explains why he took the same Bitcoin short setup as Ansem. Let's listen to what he says.
Last week, when we were at 108, I basically laid out like a couple scenarios, one of which was a sweep lower, but then the next one was this kind of move up that we saw. I just didn't end up getting in the long, but my system had a short, same short as Ansem, because him and I trade very similarly, where I was like, okay, we had that sweep back in August, so if we come back towards that high, it's a short, like just mechanically. Forget what the chart is, forget the ticker. That's a mechanical short 9 out of 10 times for me. So I took it and I lost some money. Like it is what it is. And that it could have worked, right? And then I would have been dunking on everyone, but it didn't. And I'm okay to take my lumps. Like I get shit wrong all the time. Like that's one of the misconceptions people have about Twitter. Like everyone's dunking, oh, Ansem says, we topped, we didn't top. It's like, dude, Ansem is a good trader. Like him or hate him, he is a very good trader and he knows when he's wrong. And now he's bull posting because his bearish idea was wrong. And all of you have to get to a point where you can see the market both ways, or you will have no sustainability, because once the market eventually does turn, a lot of these people who only know how to long are going to give back all the money that they made this entire bull market.
Everything, 100%. The same thing happened last cycle from 2021 into the mid 2022. There were people who were multimillionaires in the negative. And you're going to say, well, how can you get in the negative? Well, you still owe taxes on all those gains that you made, even though you may have put it back in the market, right? And so this is really important to understand. I'm not saying that I'm going to be correct all the time, but in the macro sense, okay, when we look at how these cycles operate, you're going to be right sometimes, you're going to be wrong sometimes. But the times that you're right can outweigh the times that you're wrong, and you can make a lot of money. A lot of money. Okay. And that's what we're doing in this cycle. Okay. It doesn't matter what I'm not trading against these guys. I'm not trading against you. Okay. I don't care what you do in your portfolio. I'm trading the way that I'm trading in this market so that I can get maximum returns with as little risk as possible. Because that dip that we had from 125,000 to 107,000, it was like it was about a 17% drop in the market. I'm expecting a 50% drop in the market, okay? That's what I'm expecting. Now, whether we get that or not, that's a whole different story. I personally, in my thesis, everything is playing out, and I do think that's going to happen. I mean, after this mid-October flash crash, as they call it, I don't even think it was a flash crash. I think it was a deleveraging event, right? Getting all the leverage out. And also trapping the bulls in even more because the bulls are rebuying all of that, right? This is why complacency phase seems like it's, very quick, but this could take months. And I think it already has. From where I think the top of the market was, and I'm talking about from a macro sense, right? This is the psychology of the market cycle, not the price of the market cycle. The psychology was when all of these Bitcoin treasuries were dropping effectively. I mean, starting, I shouldn't say dropping because they dropped up till now. Some of these, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, they're down 97% in less than 6 months, right? So effectively, they're already way into the bear market and Bitcoin hasn't even dropped yet. Wait till Bitcoin drops, they're going to go down another 90%. And so this complacency phase, every dip that you have these bulls continuing to get themselves trapped in because they keep buying the dips. And whether they're buying it on margin or buying it in spot, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, the further you go in the cycle, right, the more leverage they're using because they have to recoup their losses from the last flash crash so that they got wiped out. So now they got wiped out. Now they have to double down so that they can not only make that money back, but even make more. And so they keep putting more leverage in and they keep bidding the market back up. This is why it doesn't matter where the Bitcoin price is. I'm out of Bitcoin. I'm out. There's better trades out there, 100% with less risk right now. And all the bulls just keep bidding this market up, right? But they're bidding it up on margin. And so these dips that we're getting, they're going to keep going lower and lower and lower and lower. Meanwhile, we have Tom Lee saying that the pullback is a buying opportunity. And listen, well, let's listen to what he says. I'm going to play this on 1.5 speed. So if you're already watching this at 1.5 speed, you may want to slow it down. Also, by the way, don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up. We upload every single day to give you the latest happening in the financial world. I give you guys my opinions and analysis. You can disagree with it. That's totally fine. I'm just providing my analysis on the market, but I want to hear what you guys think down below in the comments of this video. Let's listen to Tom Lee.
So let's bring in another big macro market voice. You know him, Tom Lee, co-founder, head of research at Fundstrat. Tom, it's only one day. We get it. We're still, the bull market we heard earlier, still intact. But your take on today's move and what may lie ahead.
Well, Brian, it may be overdue to an extent. We've had a nice rise of 36% since the April lows, and I believe today's decline is the biggest in more than 6 months. But it's good to see the VIX spike. The VIX spiked at 1.29% today. That's the 51st largest ever spike in the VIX. So we're a top 1% move in sort of what I'd say the market seeking safety. And so I think it's a good flush that's happening today. I would like to say the market is, concerned, but as your other guests have said, especially Rick, I mean, unless there is a real structural change, this pullback is a buying opportunity.
Now, I don't necessarily completely agree with what he's saying here, especially when it comes to Ethereum, right? Which is what Tom Lee's company is doing, buying Ethereum. Because when we actually look at October, right, you can see here at the top of this is the Strategic ETH Reserve website. You can see that effectively they only bought at the beginning of October. They didn't buy the dip. And most of these other companies that are buying Ethereum, they're not buying the dip either. So it seems to me that these Ethereum treasury companies, the Bitcoin treasury companies that all popped up at the middle of the year, they're all essentially facing the same fate: lower liquidity, lower ability to raise money to buy these assets. Okay, because we're at the top of the market. Why would anybody, besides the bulls, right? Because the bulls, they're starting to flip. That's the problem, right? A year ago, everybody was bullish on the market, so the markets could continue to go up, continue to get bid up, continue to be bought. But now we're at the point where a lot of these cryptos have not hit their all-time record highs. A lot of these Bitcoin and Ethereum treasury companies are lower than they were 6 months ago. And people don't want to keep providing debt. And by the way, if the Federal Reserve lowers rates, well, what is that going to do to the whole stablecoin ecosystem, to the whole yield-generating ecosystem? That's something we have to think about as well. And by the way, Jesse Olsen, who's a well-known trader on X, about 69,000 followers, he said Ethereum continues to make lower highs and lower lows. Do you think target 4 is possible? And target 4 is about the $3,000 to $3,200 range. I mean, effectively in the short term, yes. I don't think I have this chart. There's another chart that shows that basically this is almost a head and shoulders pattern that's being followed through on, and a head and shoulders pattern is kind of bearish, but this could play out over the course of months. I do think eventually we're going to have a massive move higher in Ethereum, but Ethereum is not immune to the rest of the markets dropping. I mean, remember in the beginning of this video, I showed you, Sven Henrik showed this divergence wedge getting broken to the downside. You want to see it continue to move to the upside, but it's broken to the downside. And again, this is after massive highs. I mean, literally, NVIDIA is almost $5 trillion. It's more than the entire market cap of all of crypto combined. Is it overvalued, or is the rest of the market undervalued, or is it a combination of both? Well, probably a combination of both. Meanwhile, we're seeing this kind of stuff, which in my view only happens at the top of the market. Vitalik Buterin posted this. Vitalik said, "This is a good decision and I respect it. Not every business should be trying to appeal to many customers as possible in the name of not being a maximalist. We need the stubborn ones who believe in their cause and their tribe and see their work as a labor of love to it." Now, what exactly is he talking about? Well, Steak and Shake, which started accepting Bitcoin earlier in the year or last year, said, "Should Steak and Shake accept Ethereum payments? We will abide by the results of this poll." Well, about 50,000 votes, and 53% said yes, they should. But then Steak and Shake followed up saying, "The poll is suspended. Our allegiance is with Bitcoiners. You have spoken. Who even allowed this?" Steak Toshi. Now here's the deal. Who gives a shit? Okay, the majority of customers, like 99.9% of customers, are not paying with Bitcoin. And by the way, the Bitcoin maximalists, they never sell your Bitcoin. So if they're paying for their burger and shake with Bitcoin, they're selling their Bitcoin. This is complete and utter BS, nonsense, ridiculousness. I mean, the company is spending so much of their marketing and time and energy on this whole Bitcoin marketing. I really wonder what like where their sales have been. Has it really paid off that much? I don't think it has. And by the way, they didn't even follow their own poll to accept Ethereum payments. That's where we're at in the cycle, guys. This is where we are at. But there is a lot of room to make money, as we have been talking about literally for months. These Bitcoin mining companies that have pivoted to AI, they've left Bitcoin, right? They were like, nope, the cycle's over for Bitcoin. We're moving on. When? Well, most of them towards the middle of the year, when we called the top, when we said euphoria was hitting in the markets. And so the Bitcoin mining companies, some of them, like Bit Digital, they completely sold all their Bitcoin, their Bitcoin mining operations, completely 100% de-risked from Bitcoin and moved into Ethereum. And then we have the ones that pivoted to AI, like TeraWulf. And now we're hearing from the CEO of TeraWulf. This is video I just really pulled for the visuals. But effectively, TeraWulf, remember, Google just purchased 15% stake in this company and signed an 80-year agreement. Now, we are hearing from TeraWulf that they've entered into the long-term ground lease at their Lake Mariner facility to attract high-quality customers. What in the TeraWolf is going on here? Let's find out. So TeraWolf announced a new long-term ground lease agreement at Lake Mariner that supports the company's expansion into HPC and AI data centers that position TeraWolf along to attract long-term and high-quality customers. This new ground lease with Somerset Operational Company replaces the original Lake Mariner lease, which was entered in May of 2021 and had 10 years remaining. The new lease has a term of 35 years with an option to extend an additional 45 years. So effectively an 80-year lease, and increases the land area by nearly 50%, expanding from 107 acres to 157 acres. Importantly, this new lease includes no escalation in annual lease payments on a per acre basis when compared to the original lease, and also grants TeraWolf exclusive access to infrastructure capacity of up to 750 megawatts. And you guys know, the energy, the megawattage or the gigawattage, this is really the metric to look for, because all of the AI companies, they need energy. And if they don't have energy, they can't run their AI. And so there's a huge demand and a very limited supply. And so companies like TeraWolf, they are surging. I mean, from the April lows of 2025, which we had clocked, right? I mean, our dollar cost average on this channel is well below that low. And we're already up 500% and potentially going much, much higher, because this company is still only worth $5.5 billion. And you guys know, in my view, all of these AI companies, especially the ones that have partnerships with Google, like TeraWolf, they should be at a minimum double-digit billion of dollar market cap, 10 billion or more, which would put this company at a double price from where we're at today, about $25, $26, just to get to $10 billion. There's still opportunity in my view. And again, all of these companies, they're expanding, and a lot of people are not paying attention, right? They're paying attention to MicroStrategy, which we're about to get to in just a minute here. But before we do that, it's also important to look at Bitfarms, because now Bitfarms has hit $5, hitting some upper resistance from multi-year lows that we've been basically sitting in. And as you guys know, on this channel, go to my YouTube page, youtube.com/thecryptoviser, click on the post tab, and then just scroll down. In August, I posted a double bottom chart on, you can't really see it here because it's been going parabolic, but essentially there was a double bottom on a zoomed out chart, and you can clearly see a W pattern, one of the best double bottom formations I've ever seen in any charting. And after a double bottom usually hits, you see massive growth to the upside. That's combined with their AI and HPC compute capabilities, with their move to the US, because they are currently a Canadian company. This is with very large pipeline for energy expansion at their facilities. I mean, I think that Bitfarms and most of these other Bitcoin mining companies are doing it right, and there is opportunity here. But the focus there is that they said, right, their CEO said, we are no longer expanding our Bitcoin mining operations. Maybe in the future they'll do it, but right now they're focused on AI, because this is growing at a faster pace with these companies that have essentially blank checks to grow AI and develop their AI capabilities. Blank checks. And that's where the money's at right now. And so when did most of these companies start pivoting? Massively in the middle of the year, when I told my viewers right here on the channel that we were at the top of the market. But people are saying, Cryptoviser, we're not at the top, because when you called the top, we went higher by like 10%. I called the top at around $110,000, $112,000, and we went to $126,000. Maybe we'll go to 150, maybe we'll go to 200,000. I don't know, and I don't care. It doesn't matter. There's more money to be made in these other assets, these other positions. I mean, Bitcoin went from 112,000 to 126,000, right? From when I called the top of the market, July, TeraWolf more than doubled. Bitfarms from the middle of the year, from July, went from 75 cents, it went up 600%. Iris Energy, Cypher Mining, Riot Platforms, Core Scientific, these all went higher. But meanwhile, people are saying, Cryptoviser, you don't know what you're talking about. You're an idiot. Why would people sell now? Why would people sell when we're at the... Guys, we're at the top of the market. We're at the top of the market. There's better investments out here. And I'm not saying all of these are going to work out. I don't know how long or how high Bitfarms is going to go. Maybe we've already topped out. I don't know. But all I know is when you look at these other Bitcoin treasury companies, look at Strive. Strive is a company that pivoted to Bitcoin treasury. They just purchased Semler Scientific. And I mean, look at this chart from $13 down to under $1, $12 decline, 92%. And they're buying Semler Scientific, which is also having massive decline from its high in July. Whoa, top of the market right there. When I called the top of the market on this channel, it's already down 45%. And then you have Kindly Nakamoto. And we're down to 78 cents when I'm recording this video. It went down to 65 cents just a few days before I'm recording this, or on the day that I'm recording this. No, I think it was a few days before, 65 cents. So now, anybody who purchased Nakamoto after they made their announcement that they were converting to Bitcoin mining, they're underwater. Even if you owned Kindly MD Nakamoto before they made the announcement, you're still underwater. Everybody's underwater in this stock. And I'm already seeing the Bitcoin maximalist saying, oh, I just entered a position in Nakamoto. Oh, well, Cryptoviser, how are we going to, it already dropped 95%. What are you saying? It's going to, there's nowhere more it can go. I'm like, it can go to zero. Like quite literally, it can go to zero. Because I want you guys to look at this. The market is pricing it in. I keep talking about this, but it seems like there's still a lot of people who don't get it, right? And most of my viewers get it, right? I'm not talking really to you, but I'm highlighting the fact that going back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the video, like if you don't understand what you are, like the game that you're playing, like if you go to a casino and you don't know how to play poker, why are you going to playing poker? If you don't know how to play baccarat, why are you going to playing baccarat, right? Like you're bound to lose. And you don't understand the risk either. And it's the same thing here, right? You can't just say, well, I set a stop loss and it didn't trigger. Well, nobody was buying. That's the problem. And so you have to understand the game that they're playing and the game that you're playing. Kindly MD Nakamoto, their buy price, their dollar cost average for Bitcoin is $118,000. They bought the top. They literally bought the top of the market. So even if we go to $150,000, the risk there is so high that this is why the market is pricing it in. The market is pricing in, oh, this company, number one, all of the PIPE investors, right, the private equity investors who purchased when they were raising money, they all were selling because they're front running what Bitcoin is about to do. Bitcoin, look at this chart, the psychological market chart. After the complacency phase, it's just straight down for months and months and months, straight down. And again, the bulls will keep saying, no, buy this dip, and then we drop more. Oh, now you gotta buy the dip even more. Then it drops down even more. Now buy on leverage because we're at the bottom. The bottom is gonna form. You see how the bottom like forms? This is a bottom formation, right? The bottom doesn't just happen, right? It's not just one day up, we dropped 80%. Oh, this is the bottom. No, it's not. Because if it drops 80%, if it drops 10%, if it drops 30%, you have to look at the zoom out and understand what the trend is. The trend is your friend, as they say. So Kindly MD is already 97% drop. And we're still at the dollar cost average effectively, right? We may be a little bit lower, maybe a little bit higher, but we're effectively at the dollar cost average. What happens if Bitcoin goes to 50,000, 60,000, 70,000? Well, that's about a 30, 40% drop from their dollar cost average. And so what is that going to do to the stock? Probably another 30 or 40% drop at a minimum. And people are going to say, but Cryptoviser, the Bitcoin they hold is worth more than their entire market cap, which is true, which means they should be selling their Bitcoin. But they're not doing that. Why are they not doing that? They should be selling their Bitcoin and buying back their stock to bid the stock price up while the Bitcoin price goes down. They can't do it because, number one, it puts a crack in all of these Bitcoin treasury company theses. They never sell your Bitcoin. Number two, it will cause mass panic in the market. I actually think that it's going to occur. I don't know whether it's going to be Nakamoto or any of these other Bitcoin treasury companies, but a lot of these Bitcoin treasury companies said that they were going to go public. Cantor Equity Partners, they were going to go public with 21, still hasn't happened. Anthony Pompliano's company, ProCap, they said they were going to go public, still in this SPAC deal situation. And so I think it is inevitable that these companies are going to sell their Bitcoin. Now, they may not sell it directly, right? They may say like MicroStrategy may buy Bitcoin from Nakamoto at a discount. Or if Nakamoto keeps going down, they may get bought up by another company that then goes and sells their Bitcoin. Like some of this will be out of their hands. But the first company that cracks and sells the Bitcoin, look out below. Look out below. Because these are the FTX of this cycle. These are the Celsius, Voyager, 3 Hours Capital, Terra Luna. That's this cycle. All these Bitcoin treasury companies, because they're highly levered, they have very high dollar cost averages of their Bitcoin, and their stocks are already down 98%. There's no bidder. That's part of the problem. Everyone is selling their shares. The PIPE investors are selling their shares. There's nobody buying these shares. There's a few maximalists that are buying the shares, but for the most part, nobody's buying. I mean, I wouldn't buy here. I would not buy here. Because again, the Bitcoin price is still at their dollar cost average. We have to wait to see what happens when Bitcoin falls. When Bitcoin falls, oh boy, there will be buying opportunity. Don't get me wrong, guys. Okay, we did this in the previous cycle with Core Scientific. Core Scientific went into bankruptcy and their stock price went down to 5 cents. We bought, it went to 50 cents within a few months. From 5 cents to 50 cents, 10x in a bear market. In a bear market. So that's if the company doesn't get bought up by another company. I actually think that like MicroStrategy would buy Kindly or buy the Bitcoin from Kindly, but either way, it's going to cause ripple effects to the rest of crypto and potentially Bitcoin. Because again, there's going to be no bidders on the other end, especially if they know that these companies are selling. And so there will be opportunities potentially to buy this stock at much lower prices. But I'm talking about like under 10 cents. And it's inevitable. I mean, it's definitely, we're at 75 cents. We're down 97%. Even if you just look at since August, 95% decline just in less than 3 months, 2 months. And the Bitcoin price is at all-time record highs. So when Bitcoin drops, this is going to crater. And so there's definitely going to be opportunities that we have to look for, but we have to pay attention to what else is going on. Now, MicroStrategy, which is the biggest one, like I said, they're having a hard time. Number one, not buying the top of the market because that's what they're doing. I mean, even last week when we had the flash crash, they didn't even buy in the crash. They bought the top, $123,000. If they waited a day or two and everything wasn't a rush, no, we got to buy the Bitcoin before everybody buys it all up. You're the only one buying it up, Michael Saylor. You're literally the only one buying it up. And so they bought at 123,000 the same week that Bitcoin crashed to 105,000. So they bought the top and then the market crashed. The week before that, remember, MicroStrategy didn't buy anything and the price went higher. But they're having a hard time acquiring more money. You can see that they only were able to raise $27 million. Now you may say, well, that's still a lot of money, and it is, but compared to what they were doing. And meanwhile, they didn't even sell any of their own shares on the open market that week. And the stock price of MicroStrategy went from $340 down to about $300 during that week. And the MNAV compressed. So there is a lot going on. There's a lot of financial gibberish. There's a lot of financial, nonsense, right? This user, Joe Burnett, said the market for Bitcoin treasury companies that generate a negative 0.25% Bitcoin yield every year is $165 billion. They're called IBIT, FBTC, ARKB, and BitB. These are the Bitcoin mining companies. The Bitcoin ETFs. Good products for Bitcoin, but if the treasury companies can generate more Bitcoin, that's very interesting. Now, here's the deal. These Bitcoin ETFs, they just track the Bitcoin price. MicroStrategy, they're just buying Bitcoin. And then they're saying they have Bitcoin yield. Well, this user, Jesse, who's an investor and corporate attorney, he said if IBIT has a negative Bitcoin yield and treasury companies have a positive Bitcoin yield, yet holding IBIT outperforms holding treasury companies, then perhaps the metric of Bitcoin yield needs some rethinking. Effectively, the metric of Bitcoin yield is bullshit. He said, thinking about this more, my critique is less with the definition of Bitcoin yield, though it gets confused in the case of the preferreds, these debt facilities that MicroStrategy has, and more with the contention that Bitcoin yield alone justifies a company's sale of securities, sale of their own stock, in all cases, as the sale is accretive in Bitcoin terms. There are clearly more factors to consider if you're trying to maximize shareholder value. He said, even though some folks say if transaction increases Bitcoin yield, it's good. He said, I think they implicitly know this can't possibly be the case. If it were the case, they would advocate selling common stock at 1.05 MNAV and issuing bonds at 20%, but they don't. And by the way, this whole accretive and Bitcoin yield, it's all gibberish. It's all bullshit. Okay, they're making up things to make it look like they're doing good. And meanwhile, Josh, who is a well-known Bitcoin or MicroStrategy trader and advocate, well, Michael Saylor blocked him. So his idol, his king, blocked him. He said the last post where I referenced Michael Saylor was one where I praised him on Friday for not adding orange dots recently, meaning not selling shares in the open market to buy more Bitcoin at the highs before the crash. Today, I realized that I was not getting notifications and checked, blocked. So to answer all those who ask me about working with or having any contact with Michael Saylor, the question has been answered by him. It's pretty unprofessional if you ask me. At the end of the day, there's your answer. He doesn't give a shit what Josh thinks. He doesn't give a shit what you think. He doesn't care what your portfolio does. He doesn't care if you think that it's financial gibberish. He's going to continue to sell shares on the open market, which makes the MicroStrategy stock puff of air underneath this price. A puff of air. Because the only people who are still advocating buying this stock are people who are trapped in the trade. They bought at $450, $375, and they're underwater. And they have all these call options that they purchased because they think the price is going up. But he's telling you, no. And I don't even want to listen to Josh complaining anymore. This is not me. This is Michael Saylor. He doesn't want to hear Josh complaining about MicroStrategy selling their own shares in the open market to buy more Bitcoin because then, hey, boom, this is accretive dilution, accretive Bitcoin yield. We get more Bitcoin yield. Guys, nobody gives a shit. In a bear market, and I'm telling you, I think we're already in rotation into the bear market. The price of Bitcoin is going to drop so precipitously. This 17% drop was nothing. We're going under 100,000. We're going under 90,000. We're probably going under $80,000 and $70,000 price. At some point, for how long, I don't know, but it's going to occur. And when that occurs, what do you think is going to happen to these Bitcoin treasury companies that are already overvalued from the Bitcoin that they hold? They're all going to crater. And if you don't believe me, look at Nakamoto. Look at Semler Scientific. Look at Strive. They're already down over 90% and the Bitcoin price hasn't even dropped. The market prices these things in. And if you're not listening to what the market says and what the market is doing, you're going to lose. And this is a channel for winners. And that's why we talk about all of these things on a regular basis to make sure that we are reanalyzing our thesis. Every video, when I'm talking about these things that are going on, I'm reassessing my own thesis and saying, wait, this is kind of bearish. So should I be in Bitcoin? Should I be buying Bitcoin? Should I be buying puts? Should I be shorting? What should I be doing? And that's what we do on this channel. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you guys also let me know down below in the comments what you think is going on in the markets and whether you think that this analysis is on point. See you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching, and crypto on.